Morning everybody, I am Meg from Loven Stamps and this is Maker Mornings with Meg. Today's project is a fun floral feature, say that 3 times fast, and it uses the Cheerful Daisies stamp set, which is part of the Fresh as a Daisy suite. And we are going to make a scenery card today, which is kind of a fun way to do a card. Like a lot of times we'll have, a focal point with a flower or a character or something like that. This one is like making a scene. And when you have a cool stamp set like Cheerful Daisies, then you have a chance to use both the stamps and dies that match them. So like the dies that cut out the stamped flowers. But this die set includes a whole range of dies that actually cut out like floral silhouettes. So they make the flowers themselves instead of using the stamped images. So that's what we're going to focus on today, making a really cool die collage using these pieces. And we're going to base it on a piece of the designer series paper. So let me show that to you. Here it is. And we're going to switch our camera here and I'll tell you a little bit more about this paper. But when it is made, it's actually painted, usually these papers or ones like them are painted by an artist at Stampin' Up! And then photographed to be printed as this paper. So this is a cool painted scene and I've pulled some colors from it to use for our die cuts. So we have some background here. I think this is really Azure Afternoon, but I decided to tone it down with boho blue. So it's a little bit more muted color. And so that is one of the new in colors. Then I have Wild Wheat, which is another in color. And then I wanted some flower centers that are gonna be a little darker. So I went with Pecan Pie, which works really well with these colors. And finally, I picked a light yellow to really make these stand out. And this is Lemon Lolly. So here are our pieces for our die cutting, and this is going to be our background for our scene. So now let's talk about the dies themselves. We have this silhouette die here, which is, we use this on a different card. So I'm going to save this not for today with one little caveat. These little pieces right here are super precious. So we'll come back to those. All right, we have these, this wispy piece here, which I've used a couple times. I actually, this is probably my most used die from this set. I just showed this card a couple days ago, and we used it here to make this sort of feathery piece here for the background, and very pretty. So we're gonna have that one we're gonna use, and then we have these flowers here. So these two dies are sized to go together. And let's see, if I turn them, they'll fit in the right spot eventually. Is it there? Is it here? Well, it doesn't matter because I'm cutting them from 2 different pieces of cardstock. So they're not going to, I don't actually have to have them match, but they do, I promise, someplace in here match. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut one of these from our basic white and we're gonna cut the other from Lemon Lolly. So I'm gonna actually make the front of our flower here be the basic white, and we're gonna make an outline from Lemon Lolly. Now to go with this cardstock, I want to use a second flower, and we actually have 2 other choices. So there's this one here, which matches with this sort of full flower outline, and there is additionally this one here, which is sort of the leaning, I don't know, makes me think of cone flowers a little bit, that they kind of have that shape, but daisies too. And so we're gonna go ahead and use that one also. And this one I'm gonna set aside, but definitely you could use it on another card. And then what else do we need to go with this? We need some stems. And so I have the stem die here and some leaves. And so I have this leaf, all right? So these I'm gonna go ahead and cut from Garden Green cardstock, which I actually have done here through the magic of television. So I've got a couple stems for us, and I've got a couple of leaves. So we'll pop these back here. And then the other thing that we're gonna need to go with these are the centers of our flowers. And so walking through the die set here, I have the larger flower center and I have the smaller flower center. And when I first did this card, I thought, you know what? I think wild wheat will work well. But I decided that I wanted something a little bit darker. And so I went ahead and cut these from Pecan Pie. So that just gives the flowers just a little bit more strength there in the center. And so through the magic of television, I have those die cut also. So let's put these dies back. So let's pull out our magic of television piece, and we'll get these dies here out of the way, and we'll talk a little bit about assembling these pieces. So, all right, so there's our flowers, there are our centers, and then we have our floral accents. And then we have our pieces here. A little tip about the die cuts. When you have a die that has lots of little pieces like this, I often find that the easiest way to knock those out is to just flex it. Let's see, how's the best way to show you? There. To just flex the, flex the cardstock here. And when you flex it, then those little elements you can just knock out with a fingernail or a pokey tool or something like that. I find that that's a little bit quicker for me than the old, poking method because it just really releases that piece of paper. The die cuts are great. So once they're die cut through, they're really easy to get out. All right, we're going to come back to our leaves here in a couple of minutes with this silhouette die. But for now, let's go ahead and put these together. When I am attaching small pieces, you guys know that my favorite is Multipurpose Liquid Glue. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop some liquid glue on the back of some of these petals. You don't have to do all of them. And if you've seen me use this glue, you know that I always say that if you can see the glue, it's enough. You don't have to have a ton. I like to make sure that the pieces are, that's one, well adhered. So I'm just gonna drop a block on there to make sure that it touches down on all the things. And of course, you definitely want to put the glue on this side and not on the yellow side, because then you end up with glue every place and not always in places where it's going to be contacted by the paper. So, all right, get that set on there and just drop another block on there. All right, we have our floral centers. And for these, I'm going to go ahead and pop these on Stampin' Dimensional. So I have both the mini size here and the regular size. These are a great thing to have in your stamping toolbox, just so you always have just the right size that you need. And then I'm gonna pop those on the center of our flowers. And you can probably see how these are kind of nicely coming together here, just with a real pretty accent on the backgrounds of our flowers there. And you could do these in any kind of color. You could do mix and match, just lots of fun possibilities. So let's go ahead and fold our card base in half here, our boho. And I'm going to go ahead and attach our layer here. I just happen to have this handy, so I will go ahead and use my multi-purpose liquid glue. Remember to leave yourself a spot to put your finger when you are holding onto this piece, and that will save you from getting gluey fingers maybe a little bit. All right, and so now we're gonna go ahead and kind of give ourselves an outline of where we want our flowers. And I think these are gonna go kind of off to the side. So what we have is we have flowers like in the foreground of our scene, and then we have this sort of plains picture in the background. So the grasslands or whatever pretty pieces are back there. We're gonna go ahead and pop some stems on these, and I'm gonna give this just a little bit of a tilt to it. And I always like to adhere things on the back with Stampin' Dimensionals. If I'm gonna pop an element up anyway, I might as well just make my life easy and put dimensionals behind it. And then we're gonna go ahead and add a couple of leaves. And for these, I'm just gonna put a dimensional on the back of these too. But I'm not peeling the backings off yet, because I really like to build my scene and make sure pieces are about where I want them before I finish gluing anything down. So let's tilt that just a little more. We need a stem here for our flower, our leaning flower. It's kind of nice. I love when the flowers have sort of different shapes. They just look so natural with a variety and so forth. So we have this set here. And now these leaves here don't have a ton of detail on them. So this is where I said these little precious pieces are going to come back in. So what I've done is I have die cut from Wild Wheat cardstock these leaves, but instead of saving the leaf part, I'm actually going to pop out, and again, I'm just flexing that cardstock to pop out that extra element. And these are a perfect fit for our leaf structures. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some multi-purpose liquid glue on the back of this. Again, it doesn't take, ooh, that was a lot of glue, Meg. So as I finished saying it doesn't take a lot of glue, I popped that glue on there, but that's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick this down and let it sit. A lot of glue on there. And then you'll notice actually that these leaves are paired. So there's two different leaves on the die. They have an arc that goes opposite directions. So I want to take the second leaf here and have it come from the other direction, like this. And we're going to put this on this leaf here. So let's see if we can get a little bit less glue on this one. Perhaps, you know, sometimes morning is tricky time. All right, there we go. A little bit less. And then I'm going to turn it this way so that I have that center arc. So the leaf itself is one die shape, but it's kind of nice that you can have it appear to be two different ones by using those centers from that big silhouette here. All right, so now I always like to connect things to the background and have a little bit of sort of an interim layer. So I have these two pieces here, and I think we're going to pop one kind of down here, and maybe one kind of, I think I want it to look like it's coming from the bottom of the card here. So I'm going to pop it down like this. And with that, I think we're ready to go ahead and stick these things down. So rather than putting glue on the back of that piece, I'm going to go ahead and glue here on the back of our stem. Sorry, I'm kind of bordering the edge of our camera space here. And I'm going to pop this down. Let's see, I'm going to get this right down to the bottom and hold this here. I guess I should switch hands. This is like having like all the tools at one time, right? Holding all the things. And let's see, I'm going to give that a second to dry. I'm just going to pop a block, 2 blocks on there. And then this one I'm going to attach with Stampin' Dimensionals from our flower, but I'm also going to use that same dimensional there to adhere our background piece there. So now this is trapped under that same dimensional. And I know our stems are sticking out. Don't worry, we'll get to those. I'm going to peel the backings off of our leaves now. This one is the one that arcs for this direction. Daisies have paired leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and put these together. Okay. And then we have kind of our silhouette done here. So we're missing a greeting, we're missing some embellishments, and we clearly need to do some trimming. I always like to trim from the back side so I can get things really right adjacent to the edge of the card. And the thing that I like about this is that now our edge pieces, you'll notice that I glued everything down first, and I trimmed to go to the edge of our card background so that that design kind of continues off of the scenery. It really brings it kind of into the foreground and puts that scenery in the back. All right, so let's look at a greeting for this. So back to our stamp sets, we have all kinds of fun things. This one here, You Made My Day, is kind of a perfect size. We don't want to overwhelm here. We just want a little bit of greeting. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one off. Now with a long, narrow stamp like this, you want to make sure you get it straight. So set it down on the tabletop, let it take its sort of native shape so it's not getting out of whack there, and then just pick it up with the block. So then you know that you got it on there straight. If you try to like apply the stamp to the block, sometimes you can get things kind of bent up and it doesn't work quite the same. So now photopolymer, usually I can see through pretty well. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that really close to the edge because I want this to be a very slight element. So I'm gonna set this down and go ahead and trim it. And let's see, I don't really need to trim the whole thing. I'm gonna go ahead and do like sort of a diagonal end there. Just gives it a little jaunty extra flair without like needing an extra tool or anything. And I'm gonna line this up and take a look. That looks pretty good to me. Remember when you're using your trimmer to hold that plastic piece down because that should hold the cardstock in place and so it won't slide when you're going to do your actual trimming. And that gives us a great piece there. So let's see, I could put this down here. I could put this into our daisies, but honestly, I kind of just like it up here as a separate, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut a second end there and go ahead and add this to our card. Now, a piece of Stampin' Dimensional, actually an edge piece here, makes a terrific way to attach a wide and narrow element like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel this off and pop this on here to make our just fun kind of thank you card. Now, bling for this, I have the, I've been using, last month I used all of the, let's see, so these are 4 colors left: Pebbled Path, Copper Clay, Wild Wheat, and Boho Blue. Last time around in the balloon cards, I used a lot of the, I want to say Berry Burst, Moody Mauve dots. And so I'm going to go ahead and use some of these that I have here. And we're going to go ahead and add 3 because it's our favorite. And I'm putting them around our greeting because I want to just make sure that that focal point there is bounced back to our greeting just a little bit. These flowers are super strong. They're clearly the place to look. And so those dots there kind of are almost like an arrow reminding your eye to kind of head back to the greeting there. So really fun, a great way to use these dies that is a little bit different from just using the ones that cut out the flowers. So this is one of the series of cards that I've showed you this month. So we have our daisy from the other day, our daisy here. We have 2 daisy cards. I'm going to show you, these were actually ones that I shared originally in May that are going to be part of this tutorial series. So one is a silhouette card here. I told you how much I love that silhouette die. And then one is this fun scenery card with the tall designer series paper feature like this. Okay, sort of a DSP card base kind of card. So if you're interested in getting these as a PDF tutorial, you can place an order of any size in my online store during the month of June, and you'll get these as a downloadable PDF with pictures and directions and cutting sizes and all the things, just to remind you of the cards that you were wanting to make. And they all use the same set of supplies, which is a really great feature because you know that if you get the set of the in colors and you get in color ink pads and the Cheerful Daisies bundle with the stamps and dies and that designer series paper, then here's 4 ideas that you can make with those sets of supplies. So I really like to curate those the supplies that I use for Loven Stamps monthly tutorials so that you will use what you have because I love seeing everybody stamp. So I'm going to show you another version of this in an upcoming video, so keep an eye out for that. But again, if you have any questions, let me know. I am happy to answer them for you. I'm a little bit incommunicado right now. I am on the trail for a 12-day backpacking trip in New Mexico. But leave comments, send me an email, and I will get back to them as soon as I am back in touch with reality, with civilization, and so forth. So anyway, happy stamping, everyone. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Enjoy your week, and I will have another video to share with you on Thursday for our Maker Mornings with Meg. So happy stamping, guys. Oh, link is in the video description as always for all the supplies. So have a great day.